Hello, I'm Nathaniel. Welcome back to the Sleep Story Collective. It's a real comfort to have you here tonight. Wherever you're listening from, whether you are already tucked beneath the covers, resting into your pillow, curled into a favorite corner of the sofa, or simply finding a quiet few moments at the end of a long day, I'm glad you made it here. At the Sleep Story Collective, our purpose is singular: to help you unwind, to help you settle into comfort, and to help you slip calmly into sleep. So for the next little while, there is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to finish, no final task you need to push through before morning, no conversation you need to replay, no message you need to answer. No corner of the day you need to keep turning over in your hands. This time is not for solving, it is not for fixing, it is not for catching up. It is simply for softening. Let the room around you be exactly as it is. Let the night beyond it be exactly as it is. Let the darkness be what it is. Let the light be what it is. And let yourself for a little while be exactly as you are. You do not need to relax perfectly. You do not need to empty your mind. You do not need to fall asleep quickly to be doing this well. Sometimes rest begins before sleep arrives. Sometimes peace begins with nothing more than choosing not to keep carrying every part of the day all at once. So just begin by noticing the support beneath you. Notice where your head is resting. Notice the place where your shoulders meet the surface below. Notice the weight of your arms, the weight of your legs, the quiet of your hands. Notice the places where your body is still holding on a little, and the places where it has already begun to let go. There is no wrong way to listen tonight. If your mind wanders, that is all right. If the day still feels a little loud, that is all right too. We are not going to argue with the noise tonight. We are simply going to let it move a little farther away, like footsteps receding down a lane, like shirts shifting softly on a washing line in the night breeze, like fabric being folded and put gently back in its proper place. Take one slow breath in through the nose and let it go softly through the mouth. Again now, an easy breath in, and an even easier breath out. One more, breathing in slowly, and breathing out completely. You may like to unclench your jaw just a little. Let the tongue rest, let the brow smooth. Let the eyes grow heavy, whether open or closed. Let the shoulders drop 1 degree lower than before. Then another degree lower still. Let your hands become quiet. Let your legs become heavy. Let your breathing find its own gentler rhythm. If a thought arrives and says, "Do not forget this," or "Remember that," or "What about tomorrow?" You do not need to wrestle with it. You do not need to push it away harshly. Just let it sit a little farther from you, as though it has been taken from your hands and placed carefully in a neat little pile for later. Still there if needed, still safe, but not in your hands, not in your lap, not pressing against your chest. Tonight's story is for the part of you that has carried too much stimulation, too much brightness, too much motion, too much inner noise, too many little scraps of the day still clinging to the mind as though they belong there forever. And it is for the part of you that still remembers, even faintly, what it feels like when ordinary things are done slowly and well, when care becomes practical, when someone folds a towel properly, when a warm room smells of soap and lavender, when a basket is set down exactly where it belongs, when something that felt all rumpled and overused is washed, dried, smoothed, and returned to softness. As you listen, you may notice the story moving gently rather than quickly. That is on purpose. Nothing important will rush past you. Nothing sharp is coming. Nothing will ask for tension. This is a place of warm stone floors, steam lifting into lamplight, wooden pegs, baskets of linen, pegs and clothespins and long, quiet tables. Night air drifting through half-open windows. Hands that know how to sort what is tangled and set it right without fuss. And the deep relief of discovering that not everything from the day must remain crumpled inside you. And if sleep comes early, you may drift. If sleep comes late, you may simply rest. If you wake again in the night, perhaps some piece of the story will still be waiting for you, like a clean sheet folded at the end of the bed, like a warm pressing cloth, like a basket already prepared to hold whatever you no longer wish to carry. That is enough. That is more than enough. So now, let the day recede another little step. Let your breathing be natural. That your hands become still, that the muscles around your eyes loosen. And if you are ready, in whatever way ready means tonight, then we can begin. Tonight's story is called The Midnight Laundry, where the day is folded away. You arrive in the lane long after the shop windows have dimmed, long after the cafe chairs have been turned upside down on their tables, long after the carts have rattled home over the cobbles, long after the square has given up its last useful noise and settled into the soft after-hours hush that belongs only to small towns and old streets and the quietest part of evening. The lane is narrow, paved in pale stone that still holds the faintest memory of daylight. On one side stand little terraced houses with curtains drawn and lamps glowing behind them in warm squares. On the other stand 3 small shop fronts already closed for the night. A baker's window with a chalkboard turned inward. A bookseller's door with a sign taken in. A tailor's display of dark jackets and pale shirts, now only shadows behind the glass. And beyond them, set a little farther back than the rest, stands the laundry. Not a laundrette with harsh strip lights, not a noisy room of spinning doors and plastic chairs, This is an older kind of laundry. A washhouse, perhaps, or a laundry house, if such a phrase still belongs anywhere. Its brick is deep red in the dark. Its windows are tall and misted slightly from within. A brass lantern hangs above the door, and over the lintel, painted in cream lettering on weathered blue wood, are the words "Midnight Laundry." Folding, airing, pressing, and the careful sorting of late thoughts. Below that, in smaller writing, open to those carrying too much of the day. You stand for a moment at the little gate, one hand resting on the latch, and you feel the whole day behind you. Not in your shoes, not in your coat, not in the bag at your side, but in the mind, in the folded over corners of the day that never quite lay flat, in the creases left by too many thoughts pressed together, in the little repeated moments, the things to answer, the things to remember, the things to fix, the things that never asked permission to remain and yet stayed anyway. Someone once told you, though you can no longer quite recall who, that there is a laundry open only after midnight where certain kinds of burdens may be treated gently, not discarded, not denied, only aired, washed perhaps, pressed, folded properly, put away. You did not entirely believe it, but you believed it enough to come. And at this hour, belief does not need to be large. It only needs to be enough to lift a latch and walk slowly along a short stone path through a small front yard smelling faintly of soap, rosemary, and cool night air. The yard is tidy. A line of white sheets hangs at one side under a covered awning, swaying almost imperceptibly. A wooden bench sits beneath the lantern. Two baskets rest beside it, one empty and one full of folded tea towels. A pot of lavender grows by the steps. A bucket stands under the eaves, catching a slow drip from nowhere obvious. Nothing is grand. Everything is looked after. Everything gives the impression that it has been used properly and cared for kindly for many years. You climb the 2 stone steps. The brass handle turns easily, and when the door opens, a little wave of warmth meets you. Not the dry blast of a room overheated for no reason. Only the steady, lived-in warmth of a place that understands damp clothes, cold hands, late arrivals, and the very particular comfort of clean things handled with patience. Inside, the entrance hall is softly lit. There are pegs for coats, a wooden shelf with folded aprons stacked by size, a row of labeled baskets under a bench, one for scarves, one for gloves, one for things to be cleaned in the morning. A narrow rug runs the length of the hall, and somewhere deeper in the building, you can hear water, not rushing, only turning softly in pipes and basins and great, calm machines that do not sound in any hurry to be finished. Then, from the room at the end of the hall, footsteps approach. Slow, certain, unhurried. A woman appears carrying a folded cloth in one hand and a small hurricane lamp in the other. She is older, though not fragile. There is steadiness in her. Her dress is dark blue, her apron a pale gray softened by many washings. Her hair is pinned up loosely. Tiny steel spectacles catch the lamplight when she tilts her head. And there is something in her expression that makes you feel almost at once that you have been expected. "Good evening," she says. Her voice is low and kind, the sort of voice that suggests many things can be handled without ever becoming dramatic. You must be here to leave the day behind a little. There is no surprise in the sentence, no suspicion, just recognition, as though people often arrive at this hour carrying too many creases in the mind, and she long ago stopped being startled by it. You tell her that perhaps that is exactly why you have come, that you had heard somehow that this was the place. She nods once, already unsurprised by the uncertainty in your words. "Yes," she says. "That is often how people hear of us." Then, with the faintest softening at the mouth, she adds, "I'm Mrs. Halden. Come through first. No one should go straight to the sorting tables while the day is still sitting on their shoulders." You follow her into the first room. It is not yet the laundry proper, not fully. More a little receiving parlor where the day can begin to lower itself before anything useful is done with it. There is a low fire in a black iron grate, 2 cushioned chairs, a round table with a teapot and 2 cups, shelves lined with neatly folded towels in cream and blue, and on the long window seat beneath the small panes, a large ginger cat sleeping in the shape of a warm comma. He opens one eye as you enter, looks at you long enough to confirm, perhaps, that you are the expected sort of guest, then closes it again and does not trouble himself further. "That's starch," says Mrs. Halden. He supervises late arrivals, presses nothing himself, and has very firm opinions about where warm linen ought to rest. A faint smile touches her face as she says it. Not the kind of smile that asks you to produce one in return, only enough to make the room feel even safer. She sets the lamp down, pours tea, and gestures toward the chair opposite her. The tea is pale and fragrant, something with chamomile perhaps, and lavender, and a faint sweeter note beneath it that might be honey or fennel or simply the scent of the room itself. Mrs. Halden hands you the cup, then takes the other chair with the ease of someone who has all the time in the world. Perhaps she does. Or perhaps this house has simply learned not to treat the midnight hour like a problem. She says your name back to you when you give it, not formally, only carefully, as if placing it on a shelf where it may rest. Then she says, "Most people who come here after midnight are carrying one of three things." She lifts her cup. A day that will not finish, a thought that will not stop, or a feeling that has been left in too long and now needs gentler handling. She looks into the fire rather than directly at you. This house is good with all three. You ask quietly whether it is really a laundry. Mrs. Halden considers. "Yes," she says at last, "but perhaps not only that." She glances toward the doorway beyond, where warmer light and softer steam seem to breathe in and out of view. Some things come here on fabric. Some arrive in baskets. Some are worn on the body. And some are carried inside the mind so long that they start to behave like wrinkled linen left in a heap. She takes a sip of tea. We treat them all with roughly the same respect. The fire settles. Starch, the cat, gives one contented twitch of an ear and rearranges himself slightly without ever waking fully. The room is so well proportioned to quiet that even your own breathing begins to follow it. Longer in, longer out, less guarded. The tea softens something behind the ribs, and while nothing in your life has changed in the last 5 minutes, the shape of the evening has begun to. At length, Mrs. Halden sets down her cup. "That is enough of the outside world for one visit," she says. She rises, takes the lamp again, and crosses to the doorway leading deeper into the laundry. You follow her through. The warmth changes. The scent changes. The night itself seems to alter around you. The main washroom is larger than you expected, and quieter too. Not silent, never silent, but full of the gentlest useful sounds. Water turning in old pipes, steam lifting from a copper boiler, the soft slosh of a deep stone basin, the whisper of cloth moving from one careful hand to another, wood settling as the heat changes. Nothing clangs, nothing crashes, nothing shouts for notice. The room is long and high-ceilinged. Whitewashed brick walls glow in the lamplight. Rows of wooden shelves hold folded sheets and towels stacked by color and size. Great old sinks of smooth gray stone run along one wall. At the center stand 3 long sorting tables, scrubbed pale from years of honest use. Above them hang enamel lamps with green shades, throwing warm circles of light onto folded cloth, baskets, and neat little rows of labels. At the far end, a large copper mangle gleams beside a pressing stove, and beyond that, another door stands ajar with steam drifting through it like breath. But it is the tables that draw your eye first. Each one has baskets set upon it, not random baskets, not laundry in confusion, ordered ones, labeled in careful script on little cream cards tied to the handles. Early worries, late worries, things said too quickly, things not said at all, rainy moods, overused patience, second thoughts, overfolded plans, noise from other people, and one very large basket at the center of the nearest table simply marked day residue. You stand looking at them, and the sight of those labels is so unexpectedly accurate that something in you loosens before you even touch anything. Mrs. Holden notices. "Yes," she says quietly. "Most people feel better once they realize we already have the right basket." There is no triumph in her tone, only calm practicality, as if nothing is more ordinary than having built a room around the fact that human beings tend to arrive after midnight carrying too many mixed things in one armful. She sets the lamp down on the corner of the nearest table, then reaches beneath it and brings out a folded apron. "This isn't required," she says, "but some people find it helps to tie something practical around themselves before they begin sorting." The apron is clean and soft and gray as rain. You slip it on. She ties it at the back with one firm, kind knot, and somehow that too makes the mind feel more orderly, as if the night has moved from helplessness into usefulness. "Now," says Mrs. Holden, "you needn't do anything dramatic." She touches the edge of the basket marked day residue. "We only begin by noticing what does not need to stay in a heap." She hands you a small bundle of blank cloth labels and a pencil. "Not essays," she says, "just enough." So you begin. Not quickly, not with grand revelation, only one little thing at a time. A thought that has been looping too long. A small, sharp conversation that snagged on the day and never properly came loose. A task you nearly forgot. A feeling of being overhandled by the world. The tiredness that began as ordinary and then picked up too many extra threads as the hours passed. You write only one or two words on each cloth label, and with each one, you place it in the basket that seems most reasonable. Things said too quickly. Noise from other people. Overfolded plans. Late worries. Second thoughts. Day residue. Nothing is analyzed, nothing is defended. Nothing is made more important than it already is. You are only sorting. That is the genius of the room. It does not ask you to transform your inner world, only to stop leaving everything in one hot pile. Mrs. Holden works quietly at the next table while you do this, not interfering, not watching too closely, only folding towels and matching pillowcases with the sort of competence that makes the whole building seem more trustworthy. Starch, the cat, has followed at some point, though you did not hear him arrive. He now sits on a folded blanket near the pressing stove with one paw tucked under him and the air of someone who has supervised this process many times before. When you finish the first little bundle of labels, you realize the pile inside you is already smaller. Not empty, just divided. Each thing in a better place. each one no longer rubbing against the others and turning into a larger discomfort through sheer disorder. Mrs. Holden notices that too, though again she does not maim it directly. She only says, "Good," then lifts the basket marked day residue with both hands. "We'll take this first. It responds best to warm water and not much discussion." You follow her into the next room, the washing room. This is where the air grows warmer and heavier with steam, where the windows are cracked open at the top so the night can enter in thin, cool breaths above the heat, where the great copper boiler murmurs in one corner, where broad stone basins hold water clear enough to catch the lamplight and turn it softly gold. The room smells of soap flakes, hot linen, lavender water, clean steam, rosemary, and the faint mineral note of old water pipes that have been carrying useful work for longer than anyone still alive can remember. On a bench beside the first basin stand bottles and jars labeled in careful handwriting. For ordinary marks, for rain-heavy thoughts, for words that shrank in the wash, for city soot, for sadness that arrived secondhand, for the smell of other people's moods, for overthinking at 1 a.m, and beside them the bowl of white soap cut into ribbons no bigger than fingernails. Mrs. Holden sees you looking. "We believe in clear labeling," she says. "People rest better when they know the treatment has been considered properly." She empties the basket labeled day residue into the first basin. Not cloth, of course. Not in the way eyes would fully understand. And yet the basin receives it as if something real and weighty had been placed there. The water darkens a little, not unpleasantly, only as if the day's overuse has begun to loosen from its fibers. Mrs. Holden adds a pinch of soap ribbon, a splash from a bottle marked "for gentle release," then reaches for a long, smooth wooden paddle hanging by the wall. "You may stir if you like," she says. "It helps some people." You take the paddle. The water is warm enough that steam lifts around your hand, and as you stir the basin slowly, the action is oddly satisfying. Round and round, not forcefully, not scrubbing, only moving the contents gently enough that what clung too hard can finally begin to come free. The water catches the light, the steam breathes upward, the room hums with the comfortable labor of things being softened rather than attacked. Across from you, along the wall, hangs a row of drying cloths marked with names you cannot fully place. Harbour Inn, Orchard Room, Library Curtains, Night Ferry Blankets, Attic Guesthouse Sheets, Greenhouse Toweling, Railway Bunks. Mrs. Holden notices your glance. "Useful linen remembers useful rest," she says. "We dry some of the heavier feelings near cloth that has known quieter places." She says it as though this is a matter of ordinary expertise rather than magic, which here, perhaps it is. When the stirring is done, she drains the basin with one turn of a brass tap, then refills it from a pipe overhead, adding this time a capful from a bottle labeled "for what needn't be repeated." Again, the basket contents, or their invisible equivalent, are washed through. Again, the water clouds a little. Again, the steam rises. And already something in you is beginning to understand that most weariness is not made worse by being felt, only by being left in a heap too long. Beside the main basins sits a smaller stone sink with a chalkboard above it. Delicates, for things not to be wrung out harshly. In the bowl beneath are tiny folded slips of paper. Embarrassment, tenderness, the bruise left by a small unkindness, a wish that arrived too late, homesickness, the feeling after too much brightness. You stop and look at them. Mrs. Holden speaks from the other basin without turning. Those are hand-washed only. The sentence is so practical that it nearly makes you smile. Most delicate things don't improve when handled roughly just because they happened on a weekday. There is a gentleness in that remark that settles deeply. How often the mind assumes every feeling must be dealt with in the strongest possible way, fixed quickly, explained thoroughly, pushed through. But here, under the laundry lamps, in the warm steam and soft stone and orderly care of the room, it seems obvious that some things are not for wringing. They are for soaking, for warm water, for patience, for being held carefully until they loosen on their own. After the washing comes the wringing bench. Though even here the work is quieter than the word suggests. Nothing violent, only long rollers turned by hand, old and smooth, through which Mrs. Holden feeds the heavier parts of the day to press out what no longer needs to remain. The rollers turn with a low wooden murmur. Water drips in clear, steady lines into a trough below, and each pass through the press seems to lighten something, not erase it, only leave behind what is still useful and let the rest run away. She works with the confidence of long habit, hands steady, motions small, apron clean despite the water. The whole room seems to move in time with her. When she is done, she hands you the warm, folded cloth, now representing whatever remains of the day residue. It is lighter than you expected. Damp still, but clean in a way that goes deeper than surface appearance. There, she says, already more manageable. And you find, to your surprise, that this too is true of your mind. From the washing room, the cloth passes into the drying room. This is perhaps the loveliest part of the laundry. Long and airy, lined with wooden rails and hanging lines stretched from wall to wall. The ceiling rises higher here, crossed with beams from which old iron pulleys hang. The windows are left open at the top, and through them the midnight air enters in slow, cool streams, carrying the scent of rain far away, chimney smoke from the town, night leaves, and the lavender planted by the back wall. Everything sways a little, not much, just enough. Sheets move in the air like pale sails. Aprons hang by their ties. Tea towels wait in neat ranks. A line of pillowcases drifts almost imperceptibly where the night breeze touches them. There is a wide bench under the central window, and on it stand shallow baskets of dried lavender, rosemary, mint, and lemon verbena to scent the folds once things are ready. The room is full of fabric, and moonlight and air, full of motion, gentle enough to be almost stillness. Mrs. Halden hangs the freshly washed day residue on a line by the open window, not in the center, not too close to the stove room door, only where the cross breeze will reach it first. Then she moves along the line and adjusts the neighboring cloths. A sheet labeled Harbor Inn, a pillowcase from library curtains, a cloth sack marked Orchard Room, as if surrounding the newly washed day with calm, well-rested company might help it dry more softly. Things dry better in good company, she says. Again, the sentence is offered as practical fact, and because the room is what it is, and the hour what it is, and Mrs. Halden who she is, it feels entirely sensible. You stand for a moment beneath the lines, and in the movement above you, in the faint, sweet smell of herbs and clean linen, in the cool night air drifting in through the high windows, you feel another layer of the day leave you without any effort at all. On one side of the room is a narrow rack of items pegged apart from the rest. These, you notice, are labeled with the names of emotional weather rather than places. Sharp Tuesday, gray before lunch, a whole week of small delays, news from elsewhere, voices that stayed too long, too much fluorescent light. Mrs. Halden follows your gaze. We keep certain things separate while they dry, she says, not because they are wrong. She lifts one clipped cloth and gives it a little more space on the line, only because they need more air than the others. You sit for a while on the bench under the window. No one tells you to. The room simply suggests it. The boards beneath you are smooth from years of use. The air is cool against your face and warm against your hands, where the tea from earlier still seems to linger in the skin. The hanging cloths move almost not at all, and each one seems to carry some tiny, quiet testimony that tiredness can be handled, that what is used may be cleaned, that what is wrinkled may yet be smoothed, that what is overcarried may one day be folded and put away. At length, Mrs. Halden says, "We can't press it until it has had enough air." You nod. This seems true of more than fabric. How many things in life are made harder by being ironed too soon? By trying to flatten them before they have cooled, by forcing order onto them before they have had time to breathe. She seems to sense the thought. People often rush to the pressing, she says. They think the point is to make everything tidy as quickly as possible. She lifts a pillowcase from the line and holds it to the lamp. But good folding comes after good airing. When the cloth is ready, she takes it down. It is no longer damp, no longer heavy, only fresh and lightly warm from the room itself. Then she leads you through another doorway into the pressing room. Here the air is warmer again, but drier. The smell changes from soap and steam to hot linen, starch, beeswax, and that faint, toasty scent that rises when clean cotton meets a well-kept iron. The room glows with copper and brass and polished wood. There are long pressing tables padded in cream felt, heavy irons warming on a stove, spritz bottles with lavender water, smooth boards for sleeves and collars, and a little shelf of cards marked "for edges that have curled up under strain." Mrs. Halden sets the freshly dried day cloth onto the pressing table, then smooths it with both palms, not flattening by force, only inviting it into order. She spritzes it once with lavender water, lifts one of the old irons wrapped in its cloth handle, tests it against a spare pressing rag, then begins. The iron passes over the cloth slowly, a low, steady movement. Heat, weight, direction. The creases do not fight. They soften and go, one by one. You watch the process with a kind of quiet fascination. How the cloth changes not through argument, but through warmth and pressure correctly applied. How what was all rampant and resistant after the wash becomes smooth under the right hand. How even stubborn corners yield when given time and heat rather than impatience. Mrs. Halden senses your attention and says, without lifting her eyes from the board, "Some parts of the day only needed to know what direction they belonged in." On the wall beside the pressing table hangs a chart of little sketches and notes. Heavy cotton, muslin, linen, delicates. And beneath that another, stranger chart. Second thoughts, handled with warmth, lingering annoyance, best aired first, social overuse, do not starch. The feeling of being observed too much requires privacy before pressing. One small humiliation. Fold with care and do not stack beneath heavier items. You could spend a long time reading it, and perhaps that is part of its comfort. The astonishing relief of seeing human weariness treated with the same ordinary competence as household cloth. When the pressing is done, Mrs. Halden lifts the cloth and shakes it once, very lightly, then lays it on the folding table beside the stove. This room is quieter still than the rest. The labor here is smaller, more exact. There are no basins, no lines, only the final work of returning things to shape. On one side stand shelves of finished laundry stacked in perfect rows. On the other side are baskets and drawers and little tags waiting for whatever comes next. The room smells of warm linen and cedar drawers and lavender sprigs tucked between folded stacks. At the center stands the folding table itself. Broad, pale wood, smooth from use, its corners rubbed soft by years of hands doing the same reassuring task. Mrs. Halden lays the cloth there and says, "Here is the secret people miss." She folds one edge inward, then the other, then the bottom up, then the top down. Not complicated, not dramatic. Nothing is fixed by folding, she says. It is only given a size and shape that makes it easier to live with. The words settle into you with a quiet force, because of course that is true. A folded thing is not erased, still itself, still present, still available when needed, but no longer sprawling across the whole room, no longer catching on everything else, no longer behaving as though it must occupy every spare surface. It is simply contained, returned to usefulness, made kind again by order. She invites you to do the next fold. You place your hands on the cloth. It is warm from the press, light, smooth. And as you fold it once more, you feel the strange, deep satisfaction of taking something that felt shapeless and giving it a calm, manageable outline. This is not the work of heroics, not healing in one grand, beautiful gesture, only the midnight skill of not leaving things in heaps when they can be handled gently and put away. When the last fold is done, Mrs. Halden ties the bundle with a narrow grey ribbon, then writes a small label and tucks it under the bow. The day reduced to a reasonable size. The phrase is so perfectly dry and kind that it almost makes you laugh. Almost. Mrs. Halden seems pleased by the near laugh anyway. Now, she says, lifting the folded bundle, we decide where it belongs. She leads you to the final room, the storeroom, and here the house becomes even gentler. Shelves from floor to ceiling, linen presses with slatted doors, drawers labeled by size, season, and use, neat stacks of cloth under muslin covers, baskets tucked under benches, bundles of herbs hanging from pegs, a stepladder leaning in one corner, and a little rolling stair used perhaps to reach the higher shelves where winter quilts and rarely needed things rest in cedar darkness until called for. But this is no ordinary linen store. Among the labels for bath sheets and table linen and guest blankets are other labels too. Monday only. To be aired before use. Still tender, do not place underneath anything heavy. Can return to ordinary circulation tomorrow. Needs one more quiet night on the shelf. No rush. No rush again. And on the center cabinet, in slightly larger writing, things already lighter than they were. Mrs. Halden opens the cabinet doors. Inside are shallow shelves lined with blue paper. Not crowded, not empty either. Each shelf holds folded bundles tied with ribbon and tagged in the same calm handwriting. A long afternoon that would not end. Too many voices from the market. The feeling after saying yes too often. One overbright Tuesday. A week of being nearly late. A very full kitchen. Rain that came indoors. The need to be useful to everyone. Nothing grand, nothing theatrical, only the ordinary burdens of living, folded down to size. She places your bundle there, not on the top shelf, not tucked away out of sight, only in a sensible place, between two conversations left unfinished and the feeling after too much screen light. Then she closes the cabinet with one firm, quiet motion. "There," she says. "It can stay there until morning." You look at the doors, at the little brass latch, at the row of blue-lined shelves hidden just behind them. And though the gesture is so small, the relief it brings is much larger than expected. Because a thing does not always need to vanish in order to stop overwhelming a room. Sometimes it only needs a shelf. Mrs. Holden turns back to the table and lifts another small basket. This one has not yet been addressed. Delicates. She glances at you. Most people have at least one. You stand very still for a second, then nod. Because of course there is one more thing. Not large, not dramatic, only delicate. Some small tenderness from the day that should not be wrung. Some little bruise. Some quiet, overbright feeling. Some subtle hurt made worse by pretending it does not exist. She carries the basket back to the small hand sink room. And here, the work becomes even slower. One shallow bowl, warm water, a drop of soap, a clean cloth. No paddles, no rollers, no pressing stove, only hands and time. Mrs. Holden places the delicate thing into the water and lets it rest there without movement. "It doesn't always need words," she says. "Sometimes it only needs not to be left alone in a dark pocket." The sentence lands softly and cleanly. Not too much. Exactly enough. You both sit quietly while it soaks. The room is small. The water barely stirs. Outside the half-open top window, you can hear the faintest night breeze touching the line in the drying room. Somewhere deeper in the building, the old copper boiler murmurs on. Starch, the cat, appears at the doorway, looks in, decides the proceedings remain suitably calm, and settles just outside on a folded flour sack with his tail wrapped around his feet. The whole house is participating in the care simply by remaining quiet enough for it to happen. After a little while, Mrs. Holden lifts the delicate thing from the water, presses it once between two towels, then lays it flat in a shallow drawer lined with soft muslin. No iron, no folding yet, only rest. Above the drawer, a small label reads, "Overnight only, for things that mend best when untouched till morning." She closes it gently, and for a moment, the silence that follows feels almost sacred in its practicality. When you step back into the drying room after that, the whole laundry seems different. Or perhaps you are different. The steam less dense, the air easier, the lines gentler, the baskets less urgent, the rooms now familiar rather than strange. You have passed through receiving, sorting, washing, airing, pressing, folding, and storing. And each stage has taken something invisible and made it more manageable, without ever demanding that it become a performance. What a relief that is, to be handled usefully rather than dramatically. Mrs. Holden sees the heaviness now gathering behind your eyes. She does not mention it directly, only says, "There is one room left." You follow her up a narrow back staircase. The steps creak softly beneath your feet. The lamp in her hand throws a warm oval over the whitewashed wall. At the landing, the air changes again. Cooler, quieter, lighter somehow. The top of the house, it seems, belongs to linen at rest. The room upstairs is called the airing loft, though it feels almost like a sleeping porch for cloth and quiet minds. The ceiling slopes beneath the roof. Moonlight enters through a row of small attic windows. Shelves hold folded quilts and blankets aired only in the gentlest weather. A line of nightshirts hangs along one wall, like pale, patient ghosts. At the center stands a narrow iron bed, dressed in cream sheets, and a blanket the color of faded bluebells. Beside it is a chair with a folded shawl, a little table with a glass of water, and on the sill, a small pot of lavender just beginning to flower. "We keep this room for those who have sorted enough for one night," says Mrs. Holden. "It saves them walking home with the day still warm." She sets the lamp on the table, then crosses to the bed and smooths one hand over the sheet. "You may stay here until morning if you like." She lifts the folded shawl. "There is no charge for being too tired to carry anything else." Again, that practical kindness. Nothing sentimental, nothing overblown. Only a room prepared because tired people exist and sometimes need somewhere already made ready for them. You sit on the edge of the bed. The mattress gives with a low, welcoming sigh. Not too soft, not too firm. The sheet beneath your hand smells of sun-warmed cotton, lavender, and that faint, clean sweetness of linen stored carefully with sprigs of rosemary and cedar shavings. Downstairs, the laundry continues in softened sounds. Water somewhere far below, a line stirring, a board settling. The old house keeping its own quiet order. Mrs. Holden moves to the window and draws the curtain halfway, enough to leave the moonlight, enough to keep the room private. Then she places something on the table beside the lamp, a small square of cream card. When you pick it up, you find written there in her steady hand, "Whatever was folded away tonight does not need to be unfolded until morning." You read it once, then again. It is such a simple sentence, and yet it seems to reach the exact part of you that still believed it might have to go back downstairs and begin sorting again before sleep could be allowed. Mrs. Holden notices the way you hold the card. "Yes," she says, "people often need it in writing." Then she lifts the lamp chimney slightly and turns the flame lower. The room changes at once, honey to amber, amber to a softer gold. Shadows gather kindly in the corners. The bed seems deeper, the quilt more inviting. The air itself becomes slower. She turns to the door. The house knows what to do till morning, she says. You needn't supervise it. And with that, she leaves. The door closes softly behind her, and then, for the first time all night, you are alone. Not in a lonely way, only in the simple, useful way that comes after being received properly, after the day has been sorted, after the residue has been washed, after the delicate thing has been laid flat to rest, after the ordinary burdens have been folded down to size and shelved where they belong. Now the room is ready for the last simple task: rest. You remove the apron, hang it over the chair, slip beneath the sheet and blanket. The fabric is cool first, then immediately warming where you touch it. The pillow receives your head with a soft rustle. The quilt settles over you with just enough weight to reassure, not enough to press. And around you the airing loft becomes smaller and gentler and more exact in its comforts. The lamp, the little cart, the lavender on the sill, the half-drawn curtain, the low roof, the quiet house below. Only enough, exactly enough. At first you lie on your back and listen. Downstairs, someone sets a basin on wood. The line in the drying room whispers once. A pipe gives a little ticking note as it cools, then nothing. Then the deeper nothing that belongs not to emptiness, but to things being well tended. The sort of silence that is full of right placement, the right basket, the right shelf, the right drawer, the right room. And just as you begin to drift, a small thought returns, not loudly, only gently, a little practical thing. Tomorrow, perhaps, a reminder, something to do. Ordinarily, you might have set up around it, but tonight you think of the cabinet, the blue paper shelves, the muslin drawer marked overnight only, the basket labels, the long, warm pressing table, and at once the thought no longer seems like something that belongs in bed with you. It belongs downstairs, folded away or labeled for morning, or left flat to rest until the light is better. That is the new feeling tonight. Not emptiness, not forgetting, only placement. You do not need to carry everything in the same pocket. You do not need to keep every part of the day on the same chair inside the mind. Some things may be shelved, some aired, some soaked, some folded, some left untouched till morning. There is immense peace in that. You turn onto your side, the pillow cool against your cheek, the blanket gathered lightly at your shoulder. The card on the table still visible in the lamp glow. Whatever was folded away tonight does not need to be unfolded until morning. Downstairs, the old laundry continues its patient work without you. The boiler murmurs, the lines breathe, the delicate drawer rests. The cabinet doors stay closed. And because they stay closed, your body begins to understand that it may close itself to the day as well. Not forever, only for the night. Sleep begins in such ordinary ways sometimes. A jaw loosening, a shoulder unclenching, a hand no longer holding anything, a room quiet enough to trust, a sentence written at the right moment, a sense that not everything inside you must remain loose and scattered across every inner surface. Only that, nothing grand, only enough order for softness to appear. The house now becomes a series of gentle impressions around you. The receiving parlor with its low fire, starch curled on the window seat, the sorting tables on the green enamel lamps, the basins of warm water and ribbon soap, the long drying room with its moonlit lines, the pressing stove, the folding table, the blue-lined cabinet, the muslin drawer for delicate things, all of it already arranged in memory, like towels stacked on a shelf. Nothing urgent, nothing spilling, nothing left in a heap. And perhaps that is what the midnight laundry does best. Not miracle, not spectacle, only sequence, only good order, the right room for the right stage, receiving before sorting, sorting before washing, washing before airing, airing before pressing, pressing before folding, folding before storing, rest after all of it. What a beautiful thought that is, that even the day, with all its noise and untidiness and little snags, might be handled properly if only taken in the right order. You do not have to do that work now. That too is part of the comfort. The house has done it. Mrs. Halden has done it. The baskets and basins and lines and drawers have done it. The work of the story has done it. Your only task now is not to unfold anything prematurely, to leave the cabinet shut, to let the muslin drawer remain closed, to trust the blue paper shelves and the labels and the ribbon ties and the warm folded bundle of the day reduced to a reasonable size. A breeze touches the attic window. The curtain stirs and settles. The lavender on the sill leans once and grows still again. Far below, perhaps from the yard, you hear the faint clink of a peck bucket being set down. Or perhaps you dreamed that sound. Already the edges are softening. Already the house is becoming less a place to observe and more a feeling to rest inside. Steam, soap, warmth, air, folded linen, low lamp. Enough. And now, as the loft grows softer still, I'll stay with you for a little while longer. No need to wake back up for this part. No need to follow every word. Just let my voice rest somewhere nearby, like the low lamp on the table, like the murmur of water from a room below, like the soft weight of a folded blanket set at the end of the bed. You have done enough for one day. You have carried enough. You have answered enough. You have remembered enough. You have tried enough. And now you are allowed to lay it down. Not forever, just for the night. Just long enough for the mind to remember what it feels like not to keep everything in one overfull heap. Let the bed hold the weight you do not need to hold. Let the darkness around you be gentle and complete. Let the sounds of the house become the sounds of safety. A pipe cooling softly. A line shifting once in the night air. A distant board settling. The low murmur of the boiler somewhere below. The night doing what the night has always done when given half a chance. Lowering the lamp. Quieting the rooms. Protecting sleep with repetition and order and ordinary kindness. If a stray thought returns, let it return in a softened shape. Not as a demand, only as something that has shown up a little late at the sorting table. You do not need to clutch it. You do not need to solve it. You may simply imagine placing a little label on it. Tomorrow, not tonight. Delicate. Needs air. Already lighter. Then let the laundry take it from there. There is room for it. There is room for all of it. And because there is room, there can be ease. Feel once more the weight of the blanket, the softness beneath your cheek, the slight coolness at the edge of the pillow, the looseness of the jaw, the smoothness of the brow, the heaviness gathering in the shoulders, the quieting of the hands, the slower rhythm of the breath, all of it moving together toward rest. You do not need to arrive at sleep all at once. You can approach it by degrees. One breath, then another. One muscle unclenching, then the next. One thought being folded, then the next. One little piece of the day being placed carefully on the shelf where it belongs, then another, until gradually, naturally, you find yourself somewhere much quieter than where you began. And if some part of you is still listening, still keeping one small watch, let that part hear this. Nothing more is required tonight. You are not behind in this moment. You are not missing anything in this moment. You are not failing at rest if it comes slowly. Rest has already begun. Sleep may follow it, but rest has already begun. Imagine the laundry one last time, the lantern above the door, the front yard with the lavender pot, the receiving parlor, starch on the window seat, the sorting tables with their labeled baskets, the deep stone basins, the ribbon soap, the warm wash water, the moonlit drying lines, the pressing stove, the folding table, the cabinet lined in blue paper, the muslin drawer marked overnight only, Mrs. Halden's steady hands. See how well it all holds together. See how much of the evening has already been handled without your help. Morning will know what to do with practical things. Morning is good at lists and replies and reminders and errands and names and clocks. Night is not for that. Night is for warm rooms and aired linen and the soft order of simple care. Night is for lowering the lamp. Night is for folding the day down to size. Night is for leaving the cabinet closed until the light is kinder. Somewhere below, the last basin has been emptied. Somewhere, a towel has been folded and stacked with the others. Somewhere, the herbs in the drying room are giving off their faint, clean scent. Somewhere, starch has found the warmest basket in the house and settled there with complete authority. Somewhere, Mrs. Halden has banked the stove and turned the press cloth over for morning. And you, here in the airing loft, need do absolutely nothing now except continue drifting. If sleep comes in a wave, let it take you. If it comes in a slow settling, let it settle. If you hover at the edge a little longer, that is all right too. Even the edge of sleep is a gentle country. You do not need to cross it quickly. You can rest there a while, listening to the low house sounds and the almost stillness of the curtain and the soft, invisible order of everything downstairs, until one moment becomes the next and you hardly notice when wakefulness loosens its grip. So let your breathing stay easy. Let your body grow heavy. Let the story thin into feeling. Let the house remain around you in whatever way you need. A lamp, a bed, a folded card, a blue-lined shelf, a muslin drawer, a line of sheets breathing in the night air, a woman downstairs who is not troubled by what arrives late, only ready to sort it kindly. a place built around the simple truth that not everything from the day needs to stay loose inside you all night long. And beneath all of that, one true thing. Your thoughts do not need to be loud tonight. They do not need to be solved tonight. They do not need to remain crumpled tonight. They may be aired. They may be folded. They may be shelved. They may wait quietly till morning. And so may you. Sleep gently now. Sleep deeply if you can. Rest easily if that is what comes first. And know that in this little corner of the night, with Nathaniel keeping you company and the midnight laundry folded softly around your imagination, you are safe to let go. Good night.